Hey everyone, just so you know, the following video is a clip from a show I actually do on AFTV. The full link for the video is in the description below. Thank you for your continued support, really appreciate it.
I want to ask you about a couple of players. Kieran Tierney, Trossard, Eddie Nketiah. Because the reason, mainly about Tierney and Nketiah, are they not seeing more signings come in, that is just more competition for their places?
Good. Yes, yeah. But that's, I think, you look at the other teams that are, not even the other teams, let's just look at City. That is the nature of being at a big club, being at a competitive club. And I think they're both kind of system players. Trossard's a little bit different because he can play in many different systems and many different positions. But Tierney, there will be games where we need him, where he fits the mould more than Zinchenko. And Nketiah, I mean, I just don't actually think that he's at the level to be an understudy. I think there's quite a big gap between the Jesus that starts and then the Nketiah that comes in as an understudy. I think there are other strikers.
I mean, I agree, but
there are other strikers that could fill that. But he's an academy graduate. You know, he's obviously, we have him. We put a lot of faith and a lot of stock in him. So that's why he's there. I think had we gone into the market and bought him for 20 million, I think he'd be on his way out. So they will get their opportunities throughout the season. I think Nketiah maybe is more of a question mark than Tierney.
When Eddie signed that deal, and look, you know, a lot of benefits to that. You know, he's a Premier League footballer playing for Arsenal. He'll be paid well for that, and he gets to play for the club he loves and all that. You know, I'm not saying it's all gone wrong, and he had a bit of a run in the team last year. But when he signed it, Aubameyang had gone. Lacazette was on his way out because he hadn't signed a new deal. There was no one at the club. Since then, we signed Jesus, we signed Trossard. Balogun's had a storming season, but okay, looks like he's going. And now we've added Havertz, who's now getting his first minutes up front.
But we've qualified for the Champions League. And that's a massive difference. If you look at the amount of games we had last year, we still came unstuck despite the fact that we could rotate and actually afford to lessen the quality. If I'm Arteta now, I'm sitting down to all of these rotational players and saying, this isn't an insult. We now have to go hell for leather in pretty much every competition, particularly because everyone shat on us for the way that we went out of the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and the Europa League to an extent. We can't rotate in the Champions League group stages, but we can't just play that first 11 in every single game, which is why I need replacement players that I can rotate and the quality drop-off isn't that bad, and I think you guys are those players. And that's the way you're looking at it.
You won't be disappointed? Well, I mean, okay, might be
not if you're an elite player.
But I'm talking to I'm not sure I want to be here level anymore.
Well, Shrews made a good point. Not if you're an elite player. You've got to look at the mentality of different players. You know, someone like Balogun is backing himself to push for a move because he believes, regardless of what their actual ability is, he believes that he is that guy. He believes that if he goes to another European club, he can lead them to great things. He really believes that. Does Nketiah look at himself in training with Jesus and Havertz and all these other players and Trossard and believe, where does he believe that Arsenal would be if none of these players came in and he was the actual starting number 9 or number 14 for him? But if he was the starting number 9, does he believe that he's the guy to take us into Champions League places and push us on beyond the Haalands and Darwin Núñez and Rashfords and all these guys? I can't see that he genuinely believes that in his heart.
I think he does. He might. Do you remember an interview he did last year?
Yeah,
I think it was a podcast maybe. And he said, look, you know what? I wasn't really getting many minutes. I wasn't really playing for England. But I saw a lot of people that I used to captain at youth level now being absolute starlets and going for massive fees and being superstars, and I wasn't quite getting that. But he sees himself as their captain and the guy that was the record breaker at under 21 level internationally. And I think, given the noises that Arteta makes about him in the public domain, i.e. you need to see this guy's work rate, you need to see what he does. I absolutely adore Eddie. He has to sign, he has to stay. I think Eddie might believe that.
I think he does believe it. Cue the interview that he gave, and if you remember, Arteta came out and publicly backed him, didn't he? At that time. So yeah, I do agree.
I don't give Eddie a lot of credit for a lot of things, but I do think his mentality is spot on. There's two ways to think about it. With the Balogun route, which I respect as well. I'm a starter, I can do this, I want to go lead someone and be that difference maker. Or I'm going to stay and fight for my place. And I acknowledge I've got a good thing, but this is a great environment and I know I'll get there. So there's kind of two ways to look at it. Okay, I want to cast your minds all back. January 2021. You are in January 2021, the weather's awful, we're in and out of lockdowns. Kieran Tierney picks up an injury, and I'm hearing, just get Van Aanholt in. We need bodies. Just get someone in. Van Aanholt, get it done. We need someone. The left-hand side is our only avenue of attack. Without Tierney, we don't score goals, we can't do anything. Fast forward, 2.5 years? Nuno Tavares, Alexander Zinchenko, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Jakub Kivior, Jurgen Timber have all come to the club and all played left-back for Arsenal in that time. How does Kieran Tierney feel as an Arsenal player right now when you're potentially 5th choice left-back?
He's got to be disappointed. I mean, I'm going to say this out loud. I kind of surprised he's still at the club, because I was one of those that was saying, certainly towards the back end of last season, when there was talks that Newcastle, 1 and 2 others were sniffing around, I honestly thought he'd go, because I want to declare an interest. I am a fan of his. I'm a big fan of his. I like the way he plays. I'm kind of old school when it comes to defending. I get it with all the inverted stuff, but I think you're a defender first and foremost, and I think as a defender, there's no better defender at the club. So listen, he's had to endure a lot. He's had the injuries. He's had people come and take his place when he probably felt a bit hard done by. But I'm glad he's staying, and I'm predicting that he'll have a good season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think, again, it's systems. As much as we don't have that type of striker that's a target man, maybe we do now in Kai Havertz, who's got that RVP body frame. But all the guys that you mentioned, like Laurie said, they're inverted. They are a mixture of left back and centre back, and he's the only one that's a pure out and out left back. Kivior's centre back / left back. Timber also. Even Tavares is like a winger, kind of left wing back, if that makes sense. Kieran Tierney is the only pure left back, down the wing, put crosses into the box and create havoc. Lots of the assists he gets are not even necessarily crossing to a player. They're crossing like into space and then just causing problems. Zinchenko can play football, but he can't really bomb down and beat someone on the outside. So there is definitely a space for him, especially when we're going into playing so many different competitions. So I'm glad he's still at the club, but he needs minutes for sure.
Yeah. Well, sure.
I think it says a lot about the man, to be honest with you. I mean, the idea that you can be the starting left back and the Arsenal fans are tipping you for captain when you walk into the team. When you're out, Xhaka plays left back, Cedric played left back for a while. It's really bad. All of that's on you. When you finally come back, you've seen the world's change suddenly. It's literally like waking up from a coma and looking around and going, where am I? Like, what's gone on here? But a lot of players in that situation, with Newcastle sniffing around, might have forced the move and said, put simply, I need to go. He hasn't done that. All the interviews he's given have been, I need to learn to do what the manager wants me to do.
I love it.
And that's what I want to hear from an Arsenal player, because it's quite clear. I know it's a cliche term, but it's quite clear. He wants to play for this club and he wants to play for that badge.
Do you see how I love that? And so I'm really not trying to make this about Balogun. I'm really not, because anyone's going to think I've suddenly got a massive issue, and I don't. I just
no, but I know where you're going with it, and I agree.
But that's what I love.
Yeah, but I don't
because I'm an Arsenal fan, so I want that love.
That's it.
For us. I don't really care about what the players do beyond us. I wish some of them the best.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about Kieran Tierney. Yeah. Like, and if he gets the move, he'll embrace it and he'll do his best. But while he's here, it's just total focus on being what he needs to be for us, and I really love that.
And how much of that is down to the relationship with the manager? Do you mean? Because like we said, Balogun's not really had a look in. He's gone on loan. We know how Arteta likes the mental games, especially with the young players, to see how they react. Tierney has a much closer relationship with Mikel Arteta than Balogun does. And also with Tierney, it's injuries. Balogun's been relatively injury-free. It's just been performances and strength of character. Tierney, it's been injuries as well. So I think Arteta's trying to manage him correctly. Sometimes it's not throwing him in the deep end because he can go and get himself injured again. So it's just managing him the right way.
Yeah.
And also I think on that whole Balogun and Tierney issue and the way they've addressed certain things, it's difficult to say whether it is a right or wrong way. Listen,
I agree with that. I want to say I do agree with that.
These guys are ultimately the masters of their own career.
Yeah.
If you're a Balogun and you feel, you know what, I really need to play. I love Arsenal Football Club, but I really need to play. I'm at that stage in my career now where I'm bursting to get minutes. If you feel that you're not going to get the minutes, you probably owe it to yourself to be open and say, listen, man, if it's not quite working out, I'm quite happy to go elsewhere.
No right or wrong way, but James was just expressing his preference as to
what
he would rather
cool,
a player do, and I agree with that completely.
Yeah. Kieran Tierney, I think in pre-season we started to get an idea for actually how there is a way back in this team. When we started seeing Timber inverting from right back, and it's funny because Ben White has such a unique role where in build-up he was part of the back three. He had to be there to cover and build up and start our attacks. But once we covered that first phase and we're in the middle third / approaching the penalty area, my word, did that guy have to cover ground just to get the other way.
Yeah.
And there's arguably no better player in the squad than Kieran Tierney to play that left side of the back three and off that way, because he's literally played both roles. He's played as a wing back, he's played as a left centre back, he's played in a back three, won us an FA Cup in the back three here at Wembley Stadium. So you start thinking maybe there's a way back in. I really hope Arteta does, because I believe that clubs should have loads of different tools. That's why I don't shy away from wanting an Ivan Toney at the club, and hopefully Havertz can be that. He's not Ivan Toney, but you're all going to start, I know you are. But a target man, a focal point. So I really hope Kieran Tierney has a part to play.